Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, teachings of Rav Eliezer Melamed Shlita. Here we are, Erev Shabbos Kodesh, end of the week, completing another week of learning. Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parshas Vayera, Parsha of the Akedah, and we ask you to please continue davening for Chaylei Tzvagan Israel, who have given so much of themselves for our benefit. For Shlem L'chol Petzuei Yisrael and return of our hostages, L'Kfuras Yisrael. Nishmat and Daniel Shimon ben Arav Zeron V'Shel. Each and every day we learn in his memory. So let's finish the week with the next chapter, Shalosh Psios Akras HaTefillah. Noagim Lifsoa Shalosh Psios Akras HaTefillah. So we have this custom, you'll see people doing the 3 steps. We pace 3 steps to gather ourselves and prepare for Shemoneh Esreh. Kedei levateyas haratzon liskarev lamod l'fnei Hashem. So the approaching, it's an expression of, I have the will that I want to come closer and stand in front of God. And if you're already standing in the place where you're davening, so you don't have to then go back and then return and go 3 steps towards davening. Because the fact that you've come to shul, that shows that you have brought yourself here for prayer. And you certainly have made an approach of more than 3 steps to come and daven. And some say that if you have already walked to your place of davening, so right before you get to the Shemoneh Esreh, so you should go back and then take 3 steps forward. And this is pretty much what you see everybody do. They take the 3 steps back, and then they take the 3 steps forward. Again, illustrating this point. Even though you've walked and you've made the approach towards Tefillah, in essence, the Rav is saying you don't have to do that, but we have this custom as well. V'hatov biyoser lahafsik ma'at bein hapsius acharonit lepsia kadima. He says the best thing is to make a slight pause when you take the steps backwards towards the steps forwards. But we don't look like, oh, I'm coming and going. I'm doing it very intentionally. So therefore, when you take the 3 steps back, already before Shemoneh Esreh, before Goal Yisrael, you say Tehilos Kel Elyon, those couple of lines before Shemoneh Esreh, you should already take the 3 steps back. Then V'likras Siyum Berchas Goal Yisrael, Yifsel Lefanav Shalosh Psios. And then when you get to the Brach of Goal Yisrael and then into Shemoneh Esreh, that's when you take the 3 steps forward. Same thing applies to Mincha and Marav. Again, we just want to create a situation where it doesn't look like I'm just coming and going and doing 3 back, 3 forward. And it looks kind of like a game. You want to make sure that you're showing that I'm approaching the Tefillah. So in Mincha and Marav, already at the beginning of Kaddish, before Shemoneh Esreh, you should take 3 steps back. And Likras HaTefillah, Yigash Lefanav Shalosh Psiyos. And then at the conclusion of Kaddish, that's when you take the 3 steps forward. Again, it's very, very deliberate action and body language. Kadesh lo lahafsik ben geula l'tefillah, so that we don't have any interruption between the bracha of Gal Yisrael and Shemoneh Esreh, as we have seen. Roy lahakbid lifsoa shalosh hapsius l'fnei siyum brachas Gal Yisrael. So one should be careful to finish the 3 steps forward before the finishing of the bracha that you say of Gal Yisrael. Kadei shemiyad achasiyam bracha kvar yama b'makam atfila, so that as soon as you have finished the bracha, you're already in place, the place where you're supposed to daven. V'yaschil amar, then you can begin to say Hashem sfasai tiftach shu hapasuk shepasei chazatfila. You say the first line of Shemoneh Esreh, Hashem sfasai tiftach, which then, of course, is the way we open Shemoneh Esreh. He says here in the note that Gam Shliach Hatzibur Pasechas Chazaras Hashatz Pasuk Zeh. This is important that when, even if you're leading the davening and you're doing the repetition of the Shemoneh Esreh, you should also say out loud Hashem Sifosai Tiftach. Just a side note, but it's important. Before you get to Shemoneh Esreh, one has to remove anything that might be a distraction or that might shter his kavan, as they would say in Yiddish. Hasovel Menezoles, if someone has a runny nose, let's say, so wipe your nose before davening. So you shouldn't need to do so in the middle of Shemoneh Esreh. If somebody has something in his throat that he needs to expectorate, then one should do so before Shemoneh Esreh, so that it shouldn't be something that distracts him during davening. And if a person's nose is, even if you wipe it and it's still running, Yasazos b'tzura hamenumeses biyoser. You should try to do it in a decent and a most properly mannered way in the middle of Shemoneh Esreh. Umishenelitz lefahek b'tefillah yaniach yado al piv. And if someone has to perhaps burp or something like that out of his mouth in the middle of Shemoneh Esreh, you should place your hand over your mouth. Because when you're standing in Shemoneh Esreh, you certainly have to be wary and aware of kavod shemayim, of the honor to heaven. And anything that you wouldn't do in front of a human being, if you were standing in front of an actual king, a human king, you wouldn't start wiping your nose or making distractions or burping, anything like that. So kal v'chomer in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu when we're saying Shemoneh Esreh. And I guess one should certainly be mindful. This really probably goes in the beginning of Tefillah, but phones today, the smartphones, certainly should be away. And people who daven out of their smartphones should shut off the notifications. Again, I'm just adding this in because I'm not a big fan of davening out of the smartphones. Maybe only at a wedding or something if you don't have a sitter. But b'derech klal in shul, one should definitely use a sitter and put those distractions away. But we certainly are not distracted here because we continue our learning. Thank you for another week. Wishing everybody a peaceful and restful Shabbos. Please continue davening for Chayil Tzvah Yisrael, Israel, and return of our hostages of Kuras Yisrael, the Lady Nishmat Daniel Shimon Arab Jerome B'Shoshek B'Damo. Have a wonderful Shabbos. We'll see you next time.